All right, let's do it. Capitals are 3-0, by the way, 3-0-0 without Tom Wilson. So I think players, as we learned from the Leafs earlier in the season, you got any player with any asshole tendencies, get him out of that lineup. You're gonna start winning games.
That's true. That's a good point by you. That's a good way to connect the dots.
Are the Capitals galvanized, Pete? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't even know if galvanized is the right word. It's like I'm being forced to take the Capitals seriously now, and I hate being in this position. I feel like every time we've talked about the Caps, I've just been like, whatever, fuck them. They're not for real. I'm not wasting my time on this. I'll wait a week and then they'll be out of the playoff picture. Detroit's going to get it together. We don't have to spend time talking about the Capitals. I think we do actually have to start talking about the Capitals now, because they beat the Red Wings last night. Huge victory. Washington's won 6 of their last 7. They have beat good teams over that span. You got Vancouver in the mix, Carolina, Winnipeg, Detroit. So like, those are meaningful wins. But I tweeted this last night, like, the Capitals still aren't good. And I'm not buying in. And because I'm now being forced to take them seriously, and I do give them credit for pulling out these wins, by the way, because they are essentially the only Eastern Conference wildcard team, bubble team, that's not the Lightning, that are seizing points and forcing us to take them seriously. But the Capitals a month ago were essentially left for dead. And I'm not going to ride the recent hot stretch too much, and I'm not going to look into it too much. I'm going to give them credit for what they've done. But when you look under the hood, the Capitals still aren't good. Do you have, before we get into the nerdy shit, the numbers that I looked into, just want to know like what your thoughts are right now.
No, and we're gonna edit out once you say all the nerdy numbers and everything. We're just gonna edit that out of the episode anyway. So go ahead.
All right. Well, so I looked into it, looked under the hood a little bit, because I tweeted out the Capitals aren't good at anything, and I still kind of believe that. But there are some caveats here. Like, I'm going back to February 27th, because that's when the Detroit Red Wings beat the Capitals 8-3, and they smoked them. At that point in time, the Red Wings were 6th in the Eastern Conference. Washington was 10th. Detroit had a 9-point lead on them. Again, felt like the Caps were left for dead. Since then, Washington's 9-4, Detroit's 3-9-1, and the Caps are 8th in the Eastern Conference. They hold the second wild card spot. Detroit's out of the playoff picture. They're 1 point behind, but 1 point behind, 2 points behind. I'll check that later. But
wait, Capitals 1 point behind who?
The Red Wings 1 point behind the Caps.
No, they're 2 points behind, and Washington has 11 games remaining. Detroit has 10.
Okay. Also, we have to point out that the Caps, although they're in the second wild card spot, they're 1 point behind the Philadelphia Flyers. So there is a non-zero.
Not only are they 1 point. Not only are they 1 point. They have 2 games in hand.
They have 2 games in hand. Jesus Christ,
buddy.
So like, there's a non-zero chance that the Capitals not only make the playoffs, they might make the playoffs as a metropolitan representative. Although this is a side note, I wouldn't want that spot if I was the Capitals. Give me the 8th spot, and give me whoever wins. It's probably might be the Bruins, might be the Rangers. I think I would take that spot over having to face who's why am I blanking on?
Carolina.
Hurricanes.
Carolina, yeah. I wouldn't want Carolina right now.
I know that we're remote, so we're all jumbling and talking over each other and everything, but I do want to clarify that if the season were to end today, the Capitals would be the number 3 team in the Metro. They have a .570 winning percentage to points percentage to the Flyers, .562. Capitals, 81 points in 71 games. Flyers, 82 points in 73 games. I thought I had done a pretty good job of pulling up every meaningful matchup between teams going forward. I don't know off the top of my head if the Capitals and Flyers end up playing each other down the stretch, but there is another, I think next Tuesday, there's another Red Wings and Capitals game. So Capitals are going to keep disrupting, keep playing, keep solidifying their spot either as the third wild card or as the third Metro or the first wild card. I was going to ask the question that you brought up of like, where should the Capitals want to finish? And would they give Florida, Boston, or the Rangers a series? I don't think that they beat any team that they face in the first round, but we referred famously to them or infamously to them as food just a week or two ago. I think they're becoming less foodie because now they've got the thing, Pete, of 2023 Florida Panthers. Oh, they've been in the playoffs for 3 months now.
Yeah, so that's been like the biggest pushback is that the Capitals have been a different team since the All-Star break. That when you look at the overall numbers, they're kind of skewed because the Capitals were a much different team in the first half than they have been in the second half, and there's been a lot of young players, a lot of roster turnover, and like I think that's very true. But when you're evaluating on an 82 game sample for like one team, you have to do it for every team. And yeah, they might be in the same in the same conversation as a team like the Florida Panthers from last year, or a lot of people have referred to them as the St. Louis Blues in 2019. The thing that I would point out about those two teams is that they were good at certain things and they were not good at other things. The Caps at 5-on-5, they are overwhelmingly mid to below average in almost every category, and that has remained the same. So that's my big point here, is dating back to February 27th when the Caps got their ass kicked and then started to turn things around. During that span, at 5-on-5, the Capitals have a negative attempt share, 44.9%, a negative shot share, 46.6%. They have only a +2 goal differential at 5-on-5. They have a 49% expected goal share, which is below average. It's 17th in the NHL, and their PDO is 102. So like they are like they're a pretty mid team at 5-on-5, and here's where they've found most of their success. They're riding an extremely hot power play. They've had the best power play in the league since the All-Star break. In the specific span that we're talking about, 14 goals in 13 games, and their PK hasn't been amazing, but their goaltending has been unbelievable. Charlie Lindgren, who we haven't talked about on this show yet, I don't believe, 12 games played, .921 save percentage, and he's been unbelievable. 5 shutouts, so good. He's been so good. And obviously you have Alex Ovechkin, you have some of the younger guys who are stepping up. But I don't know how much I'm buying into the sustainability of the Capitals having the league's best power play and one of the league's best goaltenders, especially when you talk about that goaltender being Charlie Lindgren, a guy who's come out of nowhere. Last year was essentially his first full season, and he had a sub 900 save percentage. Like, Charlie Lindgren has looked amazing. I don't know how much I'm buying into that sustaining. Maybe one round in the playoffs. Maybe they can be a disruptor in the first round. I'm just not really taking the Caps seriously, especially when their 5-on-5 numbers haven't been good.
They have literally zero of the hallmarks of a playoff team. They are not strong down the middle. They do not have horses on defense. Shout out John Carlson, but they do not have horses on defense. You made the comparison, or you said that people are making the comparison to the 2019 Blues because they quote unquote came out of nowhere. They had several mooses.
Well, they also had months of success. When Binnington took over that team, I know they were dead last in the NHL. Like, they were dead last in the NHL on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So to get into the playoffs, you had to have months of success. And they clawed their way back into the race, got there, and made an incredible run. The Capitals, to me, don't fall into that sort of classification because they've only had this success for like a month and a half. And I still don't know if it would have mattered if the Eastern Conference wildcard race wasn't so flimsy. Like, again, Detroit has fallen apart. And if they had just remained even mid or average, at this point in time, I don't think that the Caps would be in a playoff spot.
We all silly like the mayor.